WhyGuru, 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 Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh Sangat Ji. Before we begin, we're going to do a little bit of Simran, just for about a minute. And we're going to do something a bit different from the norm, something that we keep on doing. We're going to try something different today. So what everybody's going to do is, you're going to sit cross-legged. You're going to have your back straight as much as possible. If you have any issues with your legs, that's okay. Do the best you can. But what we're going to do different is, we're going to keep our eyes closed, and then we're going to say WhyGuru. But as we're saying WhyGuru, we're going to try our best to use our ears to listen to ourselves saying WhyGuru. If you can't hear yourself saying WhyGuru, that means you're not paying attention, you're not focused. So we're going to just take just a few seconds. We're going to do WhyGuru Simran together and try your best to be as focused as possible. Bring your awareness, your mindfulness into the Simran. And then I'm going to ask you how you felt afterwards. So we're going to do this just for a few seconds. We're going to get started. And then we're going to move on with the Katha. And the organizers have done a fantastic job. They wanted someone to do Katha in English because the youth, as we already know, they understand English a bit more, and it's a fantastic way to get the youth connected to Gurbani, connected to the message that Guru Granth Sahib Ji are sharing with us. So that's why we're here, gathered here today, and we're going to try our best to focus. We're going to try our best to listen what Guru Granth Sahib Ji have to offer us today, the blessings that Guru Granth Sahib Ji are giving us today, okay? So we're going to get started with the Simran, and we're going to close our eyes back straight, focus on yourself saying WhyGuru. If you cannot hear yourself, that means you're not focused enough. And remember that thoughts are going to come in, we're going to get distractions, and that's okay. If you're getting distracted, just bring your awareness back as soon as you can. Okay, we're going to get started then. WhyGuru, 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 WhyGuru. मैं नाही कछ हो नाही किछ आहि न मोरा अवसर लजा राख ले हो सदना जन तोरा वाहे गुरु वाहे गुरु वाहे गुरु वाहे गुरु वाहे WhyGuru Ji Ka Khalsa, WhyGuru Ji Ki Fateh. Sangat Ji, we're very blessed to be here in the century of the King of Kings, Tan Tan Shri Guru Granth Sahib Ji Maharaj. So before we begin, can everyone tell me how you felt? Did you feel good after you did Simran? Were you focused? Do you feel a bit of peace in your mind? Raise your hand if you felt good. Raise your hand if you were feeling a bit low today before coming into the Gurdwara Sahib. You weren't sure if you wanted to come in or not, but you came anyways. But then when you came to the Gurdwara Sahib after doing Simran, you feel a lot better. Raise your hand if you feel great. Raise it high. This is not raising your hand, by the way. This is how you raise your hand. Very good. That's the power of Simran. That's what we're going to focus on today. So Sangat Ji, we have a very rich Sikh history. Our Sikh itihas is very rich because it's full of love, it's full of courage, it's full of martyrdoms. When we think about courage, our mind automatically goes onto the battlefield. We think about all the great Gursikhs that fought so many battles against injustice. But Sangat Ji, in Sikhi, courage actually starts from the heart. Courage isn't only about heroic acts. Courage is actually much more personal, much more intimate, much more quieter than that. Courage is when we choose to act despite our fears, despite our uncertainties, despite our discomfort. Courage is when we speak up against something that doesn't feel right. Courage is admitting mistakes rather than hiding them. Courage is wanting to learn something new, wanting to grow in our lives, wanting to grow in Sikhi, trying something different. Courage is when we step out of our small little bubble that we have, we get out of our comfort zone and try something new. Yes, we feel vulnerable. It may go well, it may not go well, but until we step out of our comfort zone, until we feel a little bit of vulnerability, we're never going to learn. We're never going to learn something new. We're going to be stuck in our bubble. So Sangat Ji, for some of us, getting out of that comfort zone might look like keeping our case. For some of us, it might look like dressing modestly. For some of us, it might look like giving up on drugs or alcohol. For some of us, it might look like coming into the Darbar Sahib and doing Chaur Sahib Seva. Especially the women, as women, we shy away quite a lot because we say, you know, the Singhs are there, they're going to take care of it. We don't really need to step up. It's okay. It's handled. It's done. We're okay. But Sangat Ji, it's very true as well that there are little girls that we see in the Sangat. As women, we are their role models as well. This is something they need to see as well. If we don't step up, if we don't have the courage to put ourselves out there, they're going to think that maybe women just don't do Chaur Sahib Seva, just as an example. So it's very important that we get out of our comfort zone and try something new. Whether it's wanting to learn to do ardas, whether it's wanting to do Kirtan, whether it's wanting to play tabla, whatever that may be, it takes courage to do that. A courageous person is the one that disciplines their mind. Because mind is where all the issues are. All of the issues, they start in our mind. Because in our mind, we have fear, we have anxiety, we have doubts, we have uncertainties, we have ego, we have attachment. All of those things that bother us are in our mind. So we need to discipline our mind. We get thoughts of anger, we get thoughts of jealousy, we get thoughts of envy, but we also get thoughts of compassion, kindness, and love. It's all in our mind. Let's say thoughts arise. If we get angry, got into a heated argument, thoughts arise, and we're getting angry, we're feeling angry, just as an example of how thoughts have the power to control us, how they can control our behavior and our actions. Just starts from a simple thought. Let's say we're getting angry, thoughts are, we're feeling thoughts of anger inside of us, feeling really angry. We have two things that we will do. One, we will show that anger through our words. We will talk harshly. We will say something that is mean, something that is rude. And another way of showing anger is through our actions, the way we behave. But if we let that thought pass and we don't indulge in that thought of anger, then that is us taking power back. Now, this applies to anxiety as well. This applies to depression as well. This applies to negativity in our lives as well. Everything starts in our mind. So whatever our thoughts are telling us, if we do as our thoughts are telling us what to do, if we follow what our mind is telling us to do, then our mind is controlling us. It takes courage to pause and see what's happening internally and choose our reactions wisely. So, Sangaji, it's okay to feel that anger. It's okay to feel jealousy. It's okay to feel envy. These are all part of normal human emotions. We're all humans. We're all going to feel those things. But what matters is what we do with those emotions, how we process those emotions, how we deal with those emotions. That's what matters the most. And this is the concept that Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji talked about more than 500 years ago. When they were speaking to the yogis, they were saying to the yogis, they said, Man jeeta, jag jeet. So this is something that we read in Japji Sahib every single day. Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji, they were talking to the yogis, and they said, when we conquer our mind, man jeeta, when we conquer our mind, then we conquer the world. Now let's see what that means. What does it mean to conquer our mind? It means that we don't let the panchachor, the 5 thieves, calm, endless desires, wanting more and more things. We have one thing, we want another thing. That satisfaction is just never there. Calm, krodh, anger. We get angry, we get agitated, we get frustrated when certain situations come about. Lobh, greed, wanting to eat more and more food even though we're full. That's greed, wanting more and more things, never really satisfied. Moh, attachment. We're attached to our materialistic things. We're attached to our identity. We're attached to our relationships. Ahankar, egotistical pride, thinking that we're better than others, putting other people down. These are 5 thieves. And the reason why they're called thieves is because they're stealing something from within us. What are they stealing? They're stealing our peace of mind. They're filling our mind with negativity, and they're stealing our peace of mind. Amrit loot hai. They're stealing the amrit that exists within us. Manmukh nahi bujh hai. We cannot tell. We're not aware enough to even recognize that we're being looted by these 5 thieves. Koi na suna pukara. Nobody's listening. We're crying out in pain, in agony, but nobody can hear us. The only one that can hear us is Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And that's why we've gathered here today, to learn about these things, to learn about these energies, these powers that are so powerful. They're dictating our life, each and every single moment of our life, yet we know nothing about them. Yet we have no idea how to deal with them. We have no idea how to process them. So that's why we're here today, to learn about these things. Sangaji, once we have conquered our mind, when we don't act upon our feelings of anger, our feelings of desires, our feelings of envy or jealousy, when we don't act upon them, then we have conquered our mind. What does it mean to not act upon them? It means that we bring them to our awareness. It doesn't mean that we're never going to feel those feelings. We're not, superhuman here. We're all humans. We have feelings. We have emotions. It just means that we become aware of those feelings and then we address them. That's what it means to conquer our mind. So once we conquer our mind, then we have conquered our world. It means that we don't let the panchachor, the 5 thieves, control our experience of this world. So Sangaji, how do we reduce the influence of the panchachor on our mind and our actions? And Guru Granth Sahib Ji, they're telling us this as well. They're telling us what to do. And they're telling us, Har ka naam man vasai, homme krodh nivar. When WhyGuru's remembrance resides not in our heart, in our mind. So here Maharaj are being very specific. What they're saying to us is very specific. They're directing this to our mind. They're saying, Har ka naam man vasai. When WhyGuru's remembrance resides in our mind, because all the issues are in our mind, when WhyGuru's remembrance resides in our mind, then homme, krodh, nivar. Homme meaning ego, krodh meaning anger, they're wiped away. Sangat ji, the key here is Naam Simran. The key here is to remember WhyGuru with awareness, with mindfulness. Because when we remember WhyGuru with mindfulness, with awareness, we start to realize all the different feelings, all the different emotions that we're feeling, and how we're reacting to those emotions, and how those emotions are controlling our actions and our behavior, and how we interact with one another when we're feeling those emotions, when we're feeling anger, when we're feeling jealous, when we're feeling envious, when we're feeling hatred, or when we're feeling compassion, when we're feeling love and kindness, how these feelings, how these thoughts are influencing our actions, we're able to become aware. And we are able to catch them the moment we start feeling them, rather than letting anger, for example, take us out on a ride. And anger can be very powerful. It can ruin relationships. But when we catch it right in the beginning and understand that, wait, I'm angry, and we give ourselves that space, then we don't let these panjachor take us out on a ride. So Sangat ji, Maharaj are telling us that without Gurbani, without the remembrance of WhyGuru, our life is empty. Our life is fruitless. Without the remembrance of WhyGuru, our life is empty. We can be someone that's binge-watching TV shows. We can be someone that's binge-watching movies. We can be someone that has built a very busy life around our family, around our work. We have moments of happiness. We have moments of joy. We also have moments of sadness. That's all part of life. But until we have the remembrance of WhyGuru, until we have Naam in our lives, Gurbani in our lives, then the Panjachor, the 5 thieves, will keep on impacting our lives, keep on impacting our actions. We need to bring them into awareness, become mindful. Sangat ji, why is it that Gurbani is such a big tool to help us navigate through this life, to help us navigate through our emotions, through our feelings? Because Gurbani introduces something different. Gurbani is giving us a different perspective. When we look at a situation from the lens of our Guru, instead of looking at a situation from our eyes, from our mat, our intellect or our understanding, we put that away and we use the intellect, the understanding of our Guru. We look at the situation very differently. When we put on the glasses of our Guru and look at a situation from the lens of our Guru, then we have the same emotions, but we have a different way of processing them. We have a different way of navigating them. Let's just take pain, for example. Who here has ever felt pain in their life? Loss of a loved one, or any sort of pain, any sort of sadness, any sort of grief in your life? Raise your hand. This is going to be an interactive session. I'm not just here to lecture anyone. We're here to figure these things out together because we're the Sangat. So who here has ever felt pain in their life? Whoever doesn't raise their hand, that means you've been the happiest person throughout your whole life. You've never had pain in your life, never had any suffering. So raise your hand really high. This is how we raise our hands. So almost everyone has felt pain in their life, in whichever way or form. That's good. That makes us humans. So, how do we deal with that pain? If we were to not have Gurbani in our lives, not have Guru Granth Sahib Ji in our lives, then what path do we take? We have 2 options. One option is that we let that pain take over us. We sulk in our sadness. We go down the route of mental health issues, anxiety, depression, panic attacks, because we didn't address our feelings. We didn't address our emotions. So then what does that happen? Things bottle up. And when emotions bottle up, that leads to mental health issues. Another option is to take the route of Gurbani, to use that pain as an opportunity to grow. Gurbani tells us, Dukh daru, sukh rog paya. In Rahra Sahib, we read that every single day. Maharaj is telling us how to live our lives. Dukh daru. Dukh, sadness, is daru, it's medicine. Because when we're in pain, that's when we have that really deep reflection. We look inwardly. We look within ourselves. We start to express ourselves. We reflect at a deeper level. And sukh is a rog, is a disease. Happiness is a disease because when we're happy, we don't do that inner reflection. We don't do that work on us. Then what ends up happening? We brush things under the carpet and things pile up. And then one day we just burst. We burst out loud. And that burst can even ruin the most beautiful relationships. So here Maharaj is telling us how to navigate our emotions, how to navigate our feelings, how to navigate this life using Naam Simran, using Gurbani as a great tool. Gurbani and life are not two separate things. They're one thing. They're meant to be intermingled. But we've kept them separate because we don't understand it yet. We don't understand Gurbani yet. So that's why we've kept it a bit separate. That, come to the Gurdwara Sahib mostly on Sundays. During the weekdays, that's not a thing. We got work to do, just generally speaking. But when we intermingle the two together, we can see how Guru Granth Sahib Ji is telling us how to live our lives so that we can fulfill the biggest purpose of our life, which is to realize who we truly are to begin with. That we're not this body, we're not this mind, we're not our thoughts, we're not our emotions, we're not our feelings, we're not our achievements, we're not our regrets, we're not our mistakes. Who are we then if we're not any of these things? We're Jyot. We're the Jyot of WhyGuru themselves. Just like an onion, who here has ever cut onions in their life? Now, everybody should raise their hands. Okay, so those that have cut onions in their life, you know that an onion has so many layers, doesn't it? This life is us unlayering that onion one by one, getting rid of all of those identities, those labels that we've put on ourselves. I'm a teacher, I'm a pilot, I am a student, I am a mother, I'm a father, I'm a brother, I'm a sister. All of these labels that we've put on ourselves, we're removing those layers. And we are getting to the core of the onion. We're getting to the core of ourself, who is this Atma. That's what we are, but we've forgotten that. And the more we spend our time, the more we spend our energy outwardly, the more we're staying away from that awareness of who we are, then we're having to come again and again and again into the cycle of birth and death until we learn our lesson, until we pass that test and move forward. And that's what we've gathered here to do, so that we realize what we're doing in our lives, because we're stuck in that cycle, Sangaji. Not just you, us as well. We're stuck in that cycle of negativity, that same pattern we're having to repeat over and over and over again. And you know what? We're tired of it now. We need to get out of that now. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to get out of that cycle of negativity and do something good with our life. Sangaji, someone once said that you don't find peace. This is very important. Listen to it very carefully. Someone once said, you don't find peace. You choose it. You choose peace by what you stop giving your energy to. You don't find peace. You choose peace by what you stop giving your energy to. If we're sitting at home, or if we're outside, wherever we may be, if we're watching TV shows day in, day out, watching movies, there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. I'm just using it as an example, because that's like the most common example that we can use that's relatable. Let's say we're watching movies, watching TV shows, or on TikTok, Instagram, whatever social media site. Whatever we're watching, we're giving our energy to that. And whatever we're seeing on the screen, we would want to adopt that in our lives. So if we're watching, movies, for example, or social media, or on Instagram, we're looking at celebrities, then that's how we would want to dress. That's how we would like to become as well, because that's what we're seeing all the time. And Instagram is very intelligent. The moment you start watching one thing, it keeps on bringing you back in that loop and keeps on sharing the same thing over and over again. It's very, very addictive. So Sangatji, whatever we give our energy to, that's who we're becoming. And if we're giving our energy to these celebrities, then that's who we want to become like. We've made them our role model. If we're giving our energy to fear, insecurities, because that's what these things are teaching us, wanting us to feel that we're not pretty enough, wanting us to feel that we're not good looking enough, or that we don't dress nicely enough. All of these things, they impact our mind. They build fear inside of us. They build insecurities inside of us. They build a lot of uncertainties inside of us, doubts, to the point that little girls are saying, I'm too fat. Are you for real? You're just a little girl. You're just a little boy. No, you're not fat. But that's what social media is teaching them. So whatever we give our energy to, that's who we're going to become like. But if we give our energy to reading Gurbani, learning the itihas, the Sikh itihas, if we teach our children how amazing the Gursikhs were, they would want to become like them as well and not shy away from their identity. Sangatji, remember, if we get thoughts of fear, insecurities, doubt, we also, in the same mind, get thoughts of compassion, thoughts of love, of wanting to do something good for someone. If we give energy to those feelings, then we become a better human. We're closer and closer to getting to the core of our being, getting closer and closer to realizing who we truly are. So Sangatji, I thought this is very powerful that, let's say we get into an argument. Again, I'm going to use anger as a prime example because this is something that we all go through. Let's say we get into an argument and someone said something that was triggering to us and we become angry. But let's say we don't say anything. We let that anger pass. We don't say anything. We don't, use harsh words or do anything with our actions to show that we're angry. We just don't engage in that. In that moment, we're choosing peace. It's a choice. Wanting to be peaceful in our life is a choice. In that moment, when we said, no, I'm not going to get angry, I'm going to let this pass, we chose to become peaceful. Does that make sense? Raise your hand if that made sense. Who here wants to choose peace? We all do. But again, it's okay if we make mistakes. It's okay if we get angry here and there because it's all a learning curve. We're all here to learn together. If we don't fall into those mistakes, then how are we going to learn? How are we going to grow? So it's okay. Give yourself some credit. Don't need to bash ourselves down all the time. Give yourself some credit. You're doing amazingly. We're all doing amazingly. Sangatji, that's why Guru Granth Sahib Ji is telling us, Ab kalu ayore ik naam bovaho, that we're in this age of Kal Yug right now, the darkest age, where connection with Naam is very hard. It's really hard to have that remembrance of WhyGuru because we have so many different distractions around us. And Maharaj are emphasizing this point. They're saying, Ik naam, plant the seed of WhyGuru's Naam, WhyGuru's remembrance in your mind, bovaho. And they're not just saying bovaho once. They're not saying just plant the seed of God's name in your mind once. They're saying it again to emphasize this is what we need to do. Sangatji, when we plant the seed of WhyGuru's remembrance in our mind, then we need to nurture it with something as well. We need to nurture it with humility and patience. Just like when we, plant a seed in our garden or in a pot, we nurture it with sunlight and water. Just like that, we need to nurture that seed of Naam inside our mind with patience and humility. Know that it's not going to, a seed is not going to grow into a plant over a day. Just like that, just like we got educated, it took years of education to have a good job and have a good career. Just like that, it takes time to have that seed grow into a beautiful plant. So Sangatji Maharaj are reminding us that Prabh ka Simran Sabte Ucha, that WhyGuru's remembrance is the highest of the high. And Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji themselves gave so much importance to this. And when they went out on their udasiyan, when they traveled around the world, this is the one thing that they shared with all the Sangat. So one time, Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji, they went out on a journey, and they came across a king. The king's name was Siddh San. He was a very, very nice and respectful person. And when Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji came to see him, Siddh Sen, he was very respectful of saintly beings. He said to Maharaj, why don't you come and sit down on this wooden bed? He even washed their feet. And he asked Maharaj, can I get something for you? Would you like to eat something? Would you like to drink something? I can grab it for you. And Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji said, no, I will have something, but not right now, in a bit. Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji said, I have a question to ask you. So this is a very powerful Sakhi. Try to pay attention as much as you can, because it really hits the nail on the head. Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji, they said to the king, I have a question to ask you. And the king, he got a bit surprised, and he said, you know, there are other saintly beings that have come to me before. They've asked for cows or horses or money, and I've given that to them. What can Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji ask me? So then he said, yes, puch lo, ki puchna tusi puch lo, ki sawal puchna hai. And Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji said, do you do Simran? Do you chant God's name? And the king was a bit surprised. He's like, that's not something that anybody has asked me before. It's like out of the blue. And he said, and he was an honest guy. He said, no, Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji, I don't chant God's name. But what's the need for me to chant God's name? I'm doing such great seva. Look, there's so many Brahmins here. They're sitting down. I'm giving them kheer pure. I'm donating cows. I'm donating horses. I'm donating gold and silver coins. Everybody's happy in my kingdom. What's the need for me to remember God's name? I'm doing seva. Isn't that good? Isn't that important? Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji, they said, yes, it's true that your donation is big. It's true that your seva is big. But if you don't remember the one that gave you this kingdom, that gave you your wealth, which you're able to give out to the Sangat, then that seva is fruitless. This is something very important to remember, Sangat Ji. Prabh ka simran sab te ucha. That when we're doing seva, if we join WhyGuru's remembrance with that seva, whether we're doing Jodiyan di seva, Pandiyan di seva, Langar seva, that's why when, I don't know if you've noticed, when Langar is being made, there's always some sort of Kirtan, some sort of Gurbani being read or sung, because that goes in our food as well. Those vibrations go straight into our food. So the Raja, the king, he just didn't understand. He said, how can that be? Why is it fruitless? I'm doing such a big thing here. Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji were different. They were different from everyone else. They didn't get into a heated argument with someone. They had a completely different way of convincing. So what did Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji do? They said, Dani samajhna, I'm going to have to try something different. So they said to the king, why don't you grab a pen and a piece of paper? And the king, he sent a servant, he got a pen and a piece of paper. And Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji said, start writing a zero. So write a zero, and he did. And Maharaj said, write another zero, and he did. And Maharaj said, write 5 more zeros, and he did. So then Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji asked, what does that total up to? And the king said, Maharaj, no matter how many zeros are right, it's going to total up to nothing, because a zero is a zero. And Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji said, this is what you're doing. Your donation is great, your seva is great, but until you have the remembrance of WhyGuru, no matter what you do, it's going to total up to nothing. So then Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji said, write 1 next to 1 0. What does that come up to? 10 times. Write 1 next to 2 zeros. What does that come up to? 100 times. 1 next to 3 zeros, 1,000 times. When you do seva and you do Simran along with seva, you're getting 10 times, 100 times, or even 1,000 times more out of it than you did without WhyGuru's remembrance. Does that make sense? This is a very powerful teaching. I was very surprised when I saw this, because this is not something that is shared quite readily, and this is actually in our granths. This itihas is in Suraj Prakash Granth that is written in Punjabi, and we can access that. These beautiful sakhis are written there. They're very powerful as well, teach us a lot how we need to navigate through our life. So the king, he was taken by surprise, and he said, Maharaj, then bless me with that naam. What is that naam that I need to recite in order to make this life fruitful for myself. And Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji blessed him with the Mool Mantra. And he kept on reciting that Mool Mantra as he did his seva, and he made his life fruitful. So Sangat Ji, here Maharaj is telling us that without the remembrance of WhyGuru, anything that we do in life, all of our actions are just empty. Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji, just look at them, how amazing our Guru is. When they were sent to school to learn the alphabets, they asked the teacher was trying to teach them the alphabets. And Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji said, wait, hold on a second. This is when they were quite young as well. They said, hold on a second. I'm not just going to memorize a bunch of different letters on a slate. I need you to tell me what they mean. And the teacher said, well, I don't know what they mean. And then Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji said, well, then if there's no meaning attached to what you're teaching, how are we going to understand? It makes no sense. It's useless. Then what did Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji do at that time? They wrote Patti Likhi. With every single letter, they attached a meaning to every single letter. You can see this in Guru Granth Sahib Ji if you want to go home and search it. With every single letter of Gurmukhi, they attached a meaning to it to explain what every single letter means, to give that teaching. Otherwise, our life is meaningless. That's what our Guru is telling us. Our actions are empty without the remembrance of the one that gave us this life, that gave us this breath, that gave us such a beautiful family, that gave us the food on this table, on our table, that gave us a roof above our head. If we don't have gratitude for the one that gave us all of these things, our life is empty, it's meaningless. So Sangat Ji, we can incorporate Simran in our lives, in our day-to-day lives. It's not something that, we have to keep separate. Whilst we're eating, whilst we're cooking, whilst we're cleaning, whilst we're commuting, whilst we're walking, we can have that remembrance of WhyGuru. We can chant WhyGuru's name. And something that works for me best is if I'm feeling frustrated at some point, what I start doing is I just start, and I'm washing the dishes, I just start saying WhyGuru out loud, because my thoughts are louder than my words in the moment, because we get so caught up into those feelings and those emotions. So then we try to say WhyGuru so loud so that they overtake the mind, and then I start to then calm down and get grounded. That's something that we can practice in our day-to-day lives. Sangat Ji, Guru Ram Das Ji, they tell us, don't forget your journey into Sikhi. Don't forget the spark that ignited your love for Sikhi. Don't forget your journey of how you overcame struggles in your life, whether that's with drugs, whether that's with alcohol, whether that's with your identity, whatever that struggle may be. Don't forget how you got into Sikhi, because that can actually help someone in your life. It can save someone's life. It doesn't mean that we ponder upon those things day in, day out. It just means remember the lessons and use those lessons to teach someone, to help someone in their life. And Guru Ram Das Ji, they never forgot about their lessons. They never forgot about their journey. And they write it in Gurbani as well. They say, Hum rolte phirte, koi baat na puchta, gur satgur sang, kire hum thape. They're saying it themselves. They said, I was wandering around on the streets. I was an orphan. I had no mother. I had no father. At the age of 7, I became an orphan. Hum rolte phirte, koi baat na puchta. Nobody was asking about me. I was all alone. Gur Satgur Sang Kire Hum Thape. It was Guru Amar Das Ji that came to me, and they put their hand on my shoulder and they said, you don't ever have to feel alone in your life. We're here for you. If you ever need anything, come to me. If you ever need anything, my family is here for you. You're never alone. Sangat Ji, truly, Jo Hamari Bid Hoti Mere Satgura, Sa Bid Tumhar Jaan Ho Ape. That whatever my state, whatever my mental condition is, only you know, my Guru. Nobody else knows what I'm going through. The pain, you don't know, nobody knows about the pain, the insecurities, the doubts, all of those things that I'm going through. Only you know about my pain. Only you know about my suffering. Only you know about my mistakes. Only you know about my regret. Only you know everything. And Maharaj is here to help us. Maharaj is here to uplift us if we come to the sanctuary of our Guru and bow our head to Guru Granth Sahib Ji and ask them for their guidance. So Sangaji, let's have the courage to talk to our Guru. Let's have the courage to build a relationship with our Guru. How will that start? How do we do that? When we're reading Gurbani, let's say you're reading Japji Sahib, start looking at the translations of what you're reading. Because until you understand what you're reading, it's really hard to form a connection with what you're reading. It's really hard to understand what Maharaj is saying if you don't understand what they're saying. Even despite that, even if you don't understand, the more you read Gurbani, the more beneficial it is. But it's also good to start understanding Gurbani as well. See what Maharaj is saying and how you can apply those teachings throughout the day. So, Sangaji, this brings us near the end of the Katha now. And what we're going to do is we're going to, again, just practice that Simran again so that we can continue with that Simran, that mindful awareness, have that mindful awareness in our lives so that we can continue doing that in our day-to-day lives. So we're going to just do Simran again just for a few seconds, and then we're going to just sum up and we're going to hopefully have langar soon. Okay? So let's just sit with your legs crossed, with your back straight. And we're going to try our best to listen to ourselves doing Simran, saying WhyGuru. If you can't listen to yourself saying WhyGuru, it means you're not paying attention. And it's time now, it's time to pay attention now. We're going to do something different in our lives now, and this is doing Simran mindfully. Okay? We're going to make every single breath count. And the best way to do it is in the Sadh Sangat. We get so much out of it. Okay? So we're going to get started then. WhyGuru, 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 WhyGuru. 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 WhyGuru. WhyGuru Ji Ka Khalsa, WhyGuru Ji Ki Fateh. That was amazing. I loved how the Sangat carried on. It means that you wanted to do it. And it wasn't that hard. It was effortless. And that's Gurbani. WhyGuru is effortless. Sangat Ji, do we have the courage to press the pause button on our thoughts and start reciting Mool Mantra, start reciting WhyGuru just as we did? And it's very simple. We can do this whilst we're driving, whilst we're cooking, whilst we're cleaning, whilst we're commuting, whilst we're walking. It's very simple. It doesn't have to be something very hard. It's very simple and effortless. Sangat Ji, we just learned that without the remembrance of WhyGuru, our life is empty, our actions are empty. So let's put that remembrance of WhyGuru in everything that we do. And see, try this for a week, by the way, and see how that changes how you interact with one another, how you process your emotions and feelings, and see if that has a change in your life. Try it. Until you try, you will never know. So try something. If that's a tool that you want to take home, then take this tool home and try it for yourself. Sangat Ji, remember that when we are doing Simran, to have that awareness, to have that mindfulness, so that we can make each and every breath count. So Sangat Ji, this brings us to the end of the Katha, and hopefully we have learned something new and something that we can take home with us and apply in our lives. So Sangat Ji, thank you for having us, and without your blessings, these sort of sevas are not possible. So thank you for having us here, and thank you for the seva. Without you, we are nothing. We can't do anything. Without you, there is no seva. Without you, without your support, none of this is possible. Without the blessings of Guru Granth Sahib Ji, none of this is possible. So thank you. Deho sajana si siriyan jo hova sahib se mel. WhyGuru Ji ka khalsa, WhyGuru Ji ki fateh.